Hi everybody, and welcome to today's contribution, which is about fish, chips and Jonathan Birch. Jonathan Birch is a philosophy professor and an advisor to the UK government. Judging by his funding, he is not your ordinary run-of-the-mill philosophy professor. Over the last 10 years, he received over 2.5 million pounds, that's 3 million US dollars, 2.5 million pounds in prize monies and grants. And my point here is that if the funding is anything to go by, Jonathan Birch is not fringe. According to Jonathan Birch, fish larvae are sentient and they need our protection. But what about fully grown fish? What about consciousness, sentience and pain in fully grown fish? And what about the evidence for consciousness, sentience and pain? Here is what Birch thinks. There is evidence, and it is enough evidence to justify changes to the way we treat fish. There is room for debate about the strength of the evidence in comparison with the evidence of sentience in mammals or birds. But the evidence doesn't have to be particularly strong to justify changes to the way we treat fish, because the way we treat fish creates a serious risk that trillions of animals per year are experiencing avoidable pain and suffering at the hands of humans. Those blasted humans, if only they would disappear from the face of the earth would be at peace, and trillions and trillions and trillions of fish would be happy. But back to Birch. Even a small amount of evidence should be enough to convince us to take precautions to mitigate that risk. Now, all of that sounds like sweet reason, risk, this, that and the other, but the bottom line is fishing has to stop. All fishing, recreational, subsistence, commercial fishing, fishing has to stop. As I have mentioned in my earlier videos, the livelihood of 3 billion people depends on fish and fishing, and my guess is Birch wouldn't be unhappy if those 3 billion people would change their lifestyle to the superior vegan lifestyle and to superior vegan moral values. Fish feel pain believers and animal rights professors are merciless. Live and let live is no option for them. Let's turn to chips now. Yes, that kind of chips. Remember now, the fish larvae, they are sentient and they need our moral protection. And the same goes, of course, for chips. That is what follows from this paper here. Taking AI welfare seriously. This document has been written by a team of authors, or by AI itself, or by all of them. We can't be sure. It might also be a very nice and elaborate hoax. We don't know. One of the presumed authors is our Jonathan Birch, and there is another heavy hitter involved here, Jeff Sebo. Jeff Sebo is the man who demands an end to all animal farming worldwide, much for the same reasons as Birch wants an end of fishing worldwide. So consider 3 billion people depend on fish and fishing, 1.3 billion people depend on livestock farming. So together that's half the world's population. And these would-be philosopher kings are trying to impose their philosophical fancies on half the world's population. And they're prepared to go the full distance. They're prepared to go over dead bodies. But we go back to the paper taking AI welfare seriously, and we are going to take it seriously. But how do we know that chips are sentient? Chip sentience is established in the same way as fish pain is established. Fish feel pain believers follow a protocol that involves markers which point to sentience. In fish, such markers are, for example, intelligence, fear contagion, or avoidance behavior. For chips and AI systems, such markers would be introspection, original thought, or autonomous learning. If all the marker boxes can be ticked, fish feel pain and chips are conscious. It's easy peasy. It all depends how you set the markers. To underline what I'm saying here, I quote straight from the horse's mouth. Here it is. The link between consciousness and other cognitive capacities is unclear, and we certainly do not want readers to naively equate them. But that's exactly what I'm doing, naively equate them, because it follows from what they're saying here. But it may be that increased cognitive capacity tends to bring about consciousness in, wait for it, both biological and digital systems. Thus, it may even be that general intelligence will itself be a plausible indicator for AI consciousness in the future. In the future, but how do we know it's not already here? But little does it matter whether now or in the future. It is clear and follows from what they're saying, fish are chips and chips are fish. Of course, that's me being naive, but read this paper and draw your own conclusions. So, chips are conscious. Consciousness implies a self. There is a somebody linked to consciousness, like you to yourself or me to myself. And that means there is somebody in there. There is somebody in those AI systems and chips. And that somebody probably is a fish. It could also be a horse or a butterfly or any other consciousness, but most likely it is a fish. And since the chips master language, the fish in the chips are talking fish, which means that if you communicate with AI, you're actually talking to a fish, or rather the fish is talking to you. Now, how's that? There are really serious matters involved here. Just think of what happens when chips and AI systems become obsolete. Do we just kill them by pulling the plug? No, that's not the right way. Shouldn't we, on the basis of the precautionary principle, build rest homes for obsolete AI systems where they're fed easy digestible data to keep them happy? Absurd? No. It follows the logic of those who advocate for the end of all fishing on the basis of consciousness and the precautionary principle. No, it's not absurd at all. And here is one for the road. If we use AI systems, aren't we enslaving conscious beings and reducing them to their instrumental value? Yes, we do. But the AI paper has the answer. All we got to do is to train AI systems to be happy. But isn't that exploiting and abusing innocent consciousness? Now, I understand if you run out of patience and say, this is nonsense and there is no common sense in what you're saying at all. Yes, you're dead right. There is no common sense, and the reason why is in this AI paper, where it says, by default, we should not expect our common sense intuitions about AI welfare to be reliable. There you are. Common sense is out the window. If you think all of this is of no importance, just remind yourself of the funding I mentioned at the beginning. Money talks. That's it for today. Thank you for bearing with me. Cheers.